Cyber Essentials is a UK government-backed scheme which is seen as the minimum standard for cybersecurity in the UK. Cyber Essentials scheme is designed to protect against commodity internet attacks. So these are the most basic kind of attacks which can be run and freely available on the internet. The 5 controls of Cyber Essentials are security update management, which is about keeping your programs and software up to date. User access controls, this is user accounts and passwords. Secure configuration, which covers unwanted apps on your computers and your mobile devices. Then we have malware protection, which is like antivirus protection to stop viruses and malware connection, and also unwanted web pages. And the final one is firewalls, which is about the physical device at the boundary in your office location, or software firewall on your operating system. Cyber Essentials is seen as the minimum standard for cybersecurity and has been designed for all organisations of varying sizes. In my role as a certification lead at IASME, I found the role very rewarding. It's very challenging on a daily basis, but also immensely satisfying to help companies of all sizes improve their cybersecurity.
So the Cyber Essentials Firewall and Routers control is concerned with the frontline defence between your organisation and the internet. So think of it as a bit like the bouncer in a nightclub controlling the traffic that goes in and goes out. The Firewall and Routers control is important because you should only allow access into your business for services that you need in order to run your business smoothly. Once somebody is inside your business, they can access your data and services and potentially disrupt your business or steal data. We often find that routers and firewalls are in place in an organisation, but Cyber Essentials helps to ensure that they are configured correctly.
Secure configuration control is all about choosing and applying the right security measures for your devices. Secure configuration controls are important because they help you to reduce the risk of vulnerabilities. For example, removing any unused applications or software, disabling the auto run feature, and making sure devices lock when they're not being used to prevent them being used by a malicious actor. An example would be where we reviewed the applications on devices and found there's a lot of preloaded applications and software that weren't really necessary for the company. In removing those, we found that they helped not only with performance, but just reduced the possibility of someone being able to use that device for any malicious activity.
So the Cyber Essentials user access control is around making sure that users have the privileges and access to do their role and only their role within an organisational network. The user access control is important because it limits the amount of damage that a malicious actor could do to your network if they were able to infiltrate it. So the access control standard is important because it ensures that someone, for example, with an administrative account, isn't using that account for day-to-day activities like emailing. And it ensures that if someone was to click on a malicious email, that they would only do that into a standard user account. So that would limit the amount of damage that they could do within the network. So account separation is also a really great way to protect against common ransomware attacks. It is also really important to ensure that you protect your cloud service accounts with multi-factor authentication. So it's also really important that organisations have a password policy in place that encourages long, strong passwords, such as the NCSC's 3 random words, or use a password manager.
The malware protection control is concerned with having software that prevents malicious actors accessing your data or bad software running on your devices and accessing your services and data. Malware protection is important to ensure that your services and data are secure. So on laptops and computers, this could be any commonly supported anti-malware solution that updates daily and scans files on access. On devices such as tablets or mobile phones, this could be installing applications from approved app stores. An example of malware protection that we've seen is on personal devices, for example, where you list only those applications that you allow to access your corporate data. So this could be, for example, Outlook on personal devices. It doesn't mean that you have to restrict your staff or your users from installing Candy Crush.
Security update management is one of the important objectives for the cyber security. Any of the devices or software you run may contain the vulnerabilities and new ones may be discovered every day. So to fix those vulnerabilities, developers may release the updates to those patches. Security update management is one of the important elements for the cyber security because any of the devices or software that contains the vulnerabilities are the prime pathway to the cyber attackers to target your devices. The requirement for the security update management is enabling the auto updates. If not, manually updating the high risk or critical updates within the 14 days of updates being released. One of the most common example we see is not enabling the auto updates for the system software. This is why we see most of the mobile devices operating system versions are not up to date when the applicant submitting their assessments. Any of the unsupported software should be removed or moved to a segregated subset. The scope defines the IT infrastructure used to run the operations of the organization, which is applying for the Cyber Essential certification. The boundary of the scope must be clearly defined in terms of network boundary and the physical location, or if necessary, a well-defined, separately managed subset. The scope must be always agreed between the applicant and the certification body before the assessment begins. We recommend that applicants should include their business whole IT infrastructure in the scope if possible, or a well-defined separately managed subset. All the devices and software within the scope must be supported by the vendor and should regularly receive the security updates. All of the organization's cloud services must be declared in scope, and any of the devices that access the cloud services must be declared in scope.